Okay, so as promised, we're back and we're going to be talking about some Christmas characters.
So we're sitting on the floor today, half because,
There's a tree behind us.
in our usual filming spot, so we figured this would be better, and it lets these two beautiful babies be more in the shot, and, I love them, so they get to be here.
hmm So we're going to be starting with an older Christmas movie, and we decided to go with a classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yep, so what we're going to do, instead of talking about a specific film this character was in, we are going to discuss him as a character in, like, all the films he's been in, like how he's characterized, his character development, his relationship with other characters, how much we liked them, all that good stuff.
So let's start with a little backstory on Rudolph. So, and it should be said we're going with the backstory from the 1960s movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So Rudolph was born to one of Santa's 8 reindeers, Donner, and his wife, who they just called Mrs. Donner.
Yeah.
And when Rudolph was born, the first thing that his parents realized when he opened his eyes was that he has a shiny nose.
That wasn't a popular manifestation of a talent.
No, in fact, on the same exact day, Santa Claus visited them, and even Santa was shocked by it, and
He wasn't a fan of it either. No one liked it except, well, the first one to like it was his future girlfriend.
Clarice.
Yes. The next person to like it was Hermie the elf,
Who he befriended.
which we'll get to that. And following that, Yukon Cornelius didn't mind it,
And then Santa saw how useful
well, actually, next
it
was the Island of Misfit Toys, because they're like, it's just another misfit. What do we care?
That's true.
And then it snowballed, and then he came back to Christmas Town, and everyone loved him because his nose was useful. But backtracking a whole lot, so when he was a kid, as the song tells us, he was not allowed to join in reindeer games, and he was subject to bullying and ridicule because he was different.
Yes, in fact, his father tried hiding his nose, but it didn't work.
And Rudolph didn't like wearing the covering.
Yeah, or the plug, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And it made him talk like his nose was all stuffed.
Yeah, and when it came off, all the other reindeer, they were just like, oh, look at the beak, and...
Well, Clarice wasn't. She didn't seem to mind. She even still had him walk her home, at least until her dad showed up and was like, no daughter of mine, and all those standards.
Is going to be seen with a red-nosed reindeer.
Yeah, so that happened.
But right after that, Hermie the elf, who just left Santa's workshop earlier that day.
He didn't want to be a toy-making elf. He wanted to be a dentist.
He and Rudolph ran into each other, and
They sang the Misfit song, which is one of my favorite songs from that movie.
and they decided to run away together, and along the way they had their first encounter with the abominable snow monster.
Yeah. Who we later find out is named Mumble.
Yes.
Oh, he hears someone else he wants to see if they'll pet him.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not so different from Rudolph.
There are no words. No words. Don't look. Don't look, Indy.
Okay,
Shield your eyes.
Okay, I'll turn it. It's off now. I'll leave it off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after that, they meet Yukon Cornelius.
And his dogs, who tend to make him pull them around instead of the reverse.
Yes, and when he offers them a ride, that's exactly what they do, and guess who shows up? It's the abominable snow monster again.
You can't talk today, can you?
No, I am sorry, audience.
Ugh.
Or
Never
maybe we'll just,
mind.
or you know what? You kind of Cornelius just called him the Bumble, so
We'll stick with that.
we'll call him the Bumble. So they try to escape from him, and it works when you
Dogs are needy. If you don't touch them constantly, they're like, why would you stop?
Anyway, Yukon Cornelius takes his pickaxe and breaks off the ice, and then they're floating away,
And since Abominable Snowman cannot swim, all he can do is roar in fury after them. So they wind up at the island of Misfit Toys, and they stay there for a while, and King Moonraiser, which is an awesome name, by the way.
And plus
who's like a giant ass lion with wings.
So
Says that they can stay the night, but they're not toys, so they can't live there. But if they ever
go back
find their
to
way
Christmas
back with Santa,
Town.
to tell him about the island to see if he can find homes for the toys. So they say sure, but Rudolph leaves because
He realizes that he's putting them in danger because of his nose.
because the abominable snowman can find them more easily because of the light he exudes. So, okay, this is a bit of a thing I always found weird. There's like this time skip then, where he grows up, but then like in the subsequent movies, like Rudolph's Shiny New Year and Christmas in July, and Rudolph and the Island of Misfit Toys, which features a new villain called the Toy Taker. He's back to being a kid again.
Yeah, it really didn't make any sense.
Well, I'm guessing it's because they didn't know there was going to be all those sequels. So they grew him up, and then they figured people like him better when he's a kid. So we'll leave him as a kid. But it's not really that big of a deal. So he goes around doing I don't know what for X amount of time, because I don't know how quickly reindeer mature.
And then he gets back to Christmas Town. Everyone's still
With Cornelius, Yukon Cornelius,
and Hermie.
yeah. Dude, you're so slow.
Well, I was gonna say he gets back.
Yeah,
Everybody's
they go back,
gone. Santa tells him that his parents and Clarice are gone because they actually went to go look for him.
Oh yeah, he doesn't meet up with his old friends quite yet. Okay.
And there goes an Indy.
Yeah. He's displeased with me. I neglected in my petting duties.
And then he decides he's going to go find them when a huge storm hits and basically knocks over a lot of presents, knocks over a lot of Christmas decorations. The elves can't walk, but Rudolph keeps going, and he catches up, and
he doesn't know what he wants. I apologize.
And he finds his parents and Clarice, and they're being
attacked by
the Bumble.
Yeah, and following that, he takes it on, assisted by his friends, who, as I mentioned earlier, he does meet up with again.
And
they defeat him, and, it appears that Yukon Cornelius has died, but he shows up later that night. It's like, I tamed him, we're friends now, and because he's so huge, he can do stuff for us, so.
Yeah, like, put the star on
and
top of
he's missing all
the
his
tree.
teeth because Hermie took them all out,
which
is actually kind of terrible if you think about it.
Yeah.
But so then it's because the storm is so bad they can't get through it, and Santa's like, holy crap, we can use Rudolph's nose.
Yes.
So Rudolph leads the team, and they go to
the island of Misfit Toys.
Get the toys there, and then deliver toys all over the world to good little girls and boys who celebrate Christmas.
Yes. So that's the
you
first.
You ditched me for her.
He looks so guilty.
He does. He really does. Oh, I love it.
So that's Rudolph's story in the first movie.
So next up is the Rudolph Shiny New Year, and he's been asked to go see Father Time to find. So he goes to see Father Time and he meets some friends along the way, like this soldier dude and a camel with clocks on them. So in Father Time, who is like, your nose is even redder than my hair used to be, which I always thought was kind of funny. And he tells him that the baby New Year for that year ran away because he had these huge ears and
everybody laughed at him because of it.
yeah.
So Rudolph
Can relate. So
and
he goes to find the baby New Year in this archipelago because this giant vulture thing named Eon wants the baby too because he's gonna die. I think when the New Year hits, and he does not want to die.
So he wants to make sure that they don't get the baby back to Father Time by midnight.
Yes. Can't really say I blame him too much. I wouldn't really be too crazy about dying either. But he's been alive for, as his name would suggest, an eon, so you can't live forever, dude.
So Rudolph, with the help from a whale named Big Ben,
Yes. I like Big Ben. He's cool.
they go off and start searching through the years to find Happy.
Which is the name of the baby, ironically enough. So during
New
those
Year.
travels, he goes through different time periods on each island. One is a prehistoric place where he befriends this caveman who goes on the journey with him because he did meet the baby and the dinosaurs laughed at the baby's ears. Then they go to this fantasy island, which is like where all like the fairy tales happened.
Where Happy was, and he stumbles upon the home of the three bears.
Yeah, where he befriends the baby bear and they play for a while, but then the ear thing happens again, and while the baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear are very, very sorry they laughed, it still made the baby leave. And also while on that island,
They meet a knight who agrees to accompany them
and
on
then
their
they
journey.
go to a place where 4th of July happens every day. And they meet someone who is clearly a Benjamin Franklin XP.
But his name is 1776.
Yeah. They all have names like that. I don't remember all of them, so we're not going to go over that. But, so he joins up the motley crew, and they keep going to save the baby, who's been picked up by Eon at this point. They manage to get to where Eon has Happy, and
Rudolph talks to Happy.
they have this big heart-to-heart. He's like, I know how it feels too, and like Rudolph doesn't sing his own praises or tell his own story, but like the snow and the stars do, or something like that.
Yeah.
And they sing, Rudolph the Red-Nosed, the song
Rudolph
based
the
on Rudolph the
Red-Nosed
Red-Nosed
Reindeer.
Reindeer. So then Happy takes off the hat, and Rudolph does laugh, and Happy gets upset, but he's like, I didn't mean it to be mean. Yours just made me so happy inside that it had to come out.
And that makes Happy all happy.
Yeah.
And we're all good.
And Rudolph does light up his nose, which causes Happy to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're even now, or something. I don't know. But,
Then Eon wakes up after all of this.
because he's been asleep, because like all old people, he sleeps a lot. This one
But
down here sleeps a lot too.
he sees Happy's ears, and then he's filled with so much laughter that with all that warmth inside of him, apparently he can't die now. Or at least that's what someone said.
Yeah, so they get the baby back.
But with the
And-
help from Santa, because the clock strikes midnight, Santa shows up, and they have
Like,
6 chimes to get back to Father
and
Time.
he is like, if I can get around the world in one night, I can get us to one destination within a few seconds. So, they do that. Indy. And, then it's the New Year, and everyone celebrates, because huzzah, New Year.
Yep.
Okay, following that, we get
Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July.
So obviously it's July. They're going to help out at this circus because there's this ice cream man who stores his product at the North Pole. Which makes a certain kind of sense because of how cold it is up there. And Rudolph is friends with the guy. He introduces Frosty into his family because this takes place place, I guess, sometime after the second Frosty.
Where Frosty now has a wife named Crystal.
And they have 2 children at this point.
Mhm.
So they agree to help at the circus, and there is a bit of a sinister mischief going around. What's the name of the wizard dude?
Winterbolt.
Winterbolt, yes.
So
He has this enemy named the Aurora Borealis.
which is the name for the Northern Lights, and
Yeah, she is the one who gave Rudolph his nose, and like there's this star inside a snowflake on his hoof too. So she, the Aurora Borealis, was losing her power and couldn't maintain a physical form, so she gave Rudolph something.
Mhm.
So that manifested in his nose, and then her sign, I guess, for lack of a better term, is the star inside of the snowflake. So she gave Rudolph his nose to help combat Winterbolt. So Winterbolt is the one who sent that huge storm that night to stop Santa from doing his job, and he was defeated in that endeavor by Rudolph because of his nose. So he wants to take the light from Rudolph so that he can't,
There's also a catch though, because I believe Lady Borealis, who
It's been a while since we've seen this movie, so we're going to be a bit disjointed, so we apologize ahead of time.
But there's a catch to Rudolph's power. It's either as long as he does good, his nose will
But he has
shine.
to use his nose for good and never wrong. The events unfold with the help of this ice genie he has, and if he sprinkles snow on you through his looking glass, he can insert suggestions into your head. So he inserts the suggestion into the ice cream man's head to recruit Rudolph and Frosty with Frosty's family helping out at the circus because, I guess she's his fiance. She works there, her mother owns it. They were gonna get married, but the circus is, I guess, getting foreclosed. So the wedding was called off so they could fix things.
Mhm.
So he asks for help because, he's in love with this girl and he wants to marry her. So they agree to help. But the issue is Frosty and family will melt in the hot weather of July. So Winterbolt then makes his fantastical appearance in like a bolt of lightning or something. He's like, I'm a good wizard, I'd love to help you, and all that stuff. So he gives Frosty and family these pendants that will keep them cold until the 100th firework on 4th of July goes off. So it's agreed that Santa will come and get them before that happens. Because Santa's like, oh, I haven't been to the circus in forever, and his wife is like, it sounds like fun. So they agree to go do that. So, they go help out at the circus. It's a smash hit. But Winterbolt, as we said, he is not a good person, so he's scheming. First he recruits this really mean reindeer. He does not like Rudolph and blames Rudolph because he's like, oh, I would never get on Santa's team because of him. So Winterbolt's like, so what, he replaced you? And the reindeer's like, no. She's never going to get it because he's there. He's kind of petty, and he and Rudolph apparently know each other somehow. But, so he gets a job at the circus with Rudolph's help because he tells Rudolph he's trying to turn his life around. And on the night of the payment that they have to give to make sure that the foreclosure does not happen, this reindeer, whose name escapes me, which is why I'm not saying it, convinces Rudolph to help him find the suitcase of money to give it to the banker, because apparently that's what he's supposed to do. So Rudolph helps him with the aid of his nose, and they give it to the banker, who, as the viewer will notice, is the guy who wants to buy the circus. So Rudolph is tricked into doing something bad, and since his nose was instrumental into that, he loses its power, because he didn't knowingly do something bad, but apparently being tricked into it is enough.
But so the show continues, and Santa, who is supposed to be there, he's being delayed.
Yeah, by a huge storm. And since they don't have Rudolph, they have to take it slow on the ground instead of flying. So with Santa delayed, that there's some issues because Frosty and his family are going to melt. So Winterbolt makes a deal with Rudolph. Don't tell any, and Frosty is right there, so he knows what's going on. So Winterbolt says to Rudolph, don't tell anyone you were tricked, because saying he was tricked will get him off the hook and bring his light back. He makes the deal with Rudolph. Don't tell anybody about I'm sorry.
Okay. It's going out. Really, you can hear anything?
No.
No.
So he makes the deal with Rudolph. If you don't tell anybody about being tricked, because if he reveals that he was tricked, then he'll get his light back and be off the hook for everything. I'll make sure Frosty and his family don't melt. I'll put more power into the medallion, putting more power into their medals. So Rudolph agrees because his reputation is not as important to him as the lives of Frosty and his family. Frosty does not like that. Well, he likes the living part, but he feels terrible that Rudolph's reputation is going to go down the toilet. And Rudolph's like, you can't tell anybody about this. If you do, you and your family will melt. So, Rudolph is all depressed and goes off, and Winterbolt is informed by his genie that Frosty is going to want to make a deal with him to get Rudolph's light back. And Winterbolt's like, I can't give Rudolph his light back. And the genie's like, so lie to him. He's like, what would I even want from the snowman? So the genie's like, request his hat. And then you can duplicate it and make yourself an army of living snowmen. So Winterbolt likes this plan. So he makes that deal with Frosty. Rudolph finds out and goes after the hat. But before he finds out about that, Big Ben makes an appearance, which I've always enjoyed. And Rudolph gives him a rundown of what happened. And Big Ben's like, you stay here, I think I might have a way to help. So he goes off. Then Rudolph finds out about what happened to Frosty. He goes after the hat. He manages to get it. He goes after the hat, and Rudolph defeats Winterbolt by breaking his staff. And he turns into a tree. And but that has the bad side effect, and then his magic was protecting Frosty and family, so they all melt. But then Big Ben arrives with Jack Frost, who uses his Jack Frost powers to bring Frosty, Crystal, and their children back, because he uses like the first Christmas snow or something, I don't know. And then Santa shows up, and then they all go off, and Rudolph is kind of upset because he misses leading Santa's team, and they're going off without him. Oh, and I forgot to say this earlier, but by risking his life to bring back Frosty's hat, he gets his nose power back.
Yay!
Yeah. So then the ringmaster, she's like, well, I can't give you the lead spot on Santa's team for this, but I can let you lead the parade. And Santa had given her like this magic feed that would let her animals temporarily fly. So they have a parade like that. Rudolph leads it, and it's a happy ending. Yeah. So then the next one is Rudolph and the Island of Misfit Toys. So there's this being called the Toy Taker going around stealing toys, putting everybody on edge. Rudolph, despite being kind of a celebrity now, still feels ostracized because he feels like he's more of a party trick than an actual friend to most of these people now.
Because of his red nose.
Yeah, so he and Hermie wind up going off for a bit because King Moonracer has some kind of toothache. So they go off, and he and Hermie do some bonding, and he explains some of his issues, and Hermie informs him that everybody in Christmas now knows how he feels about Clarice. And he's like, "You haven't told her yet?" And I was like, "Oh no." And we find out Hermie has a crush on the Tooth Fairy, which is all kinds of adorable. So they go and they help King Moonracer, who needs a root canal.
Because remember, Hermie's a dentist.
Yes. Oh, and Yukon and Bumble run a mine. Not of silver and gold, but it's like spices and stuff. Like it's a cinnamon mine. I don't understand that, but whatever. So they're still around too. So on their way back to Christmas Town, Hermie and Rudolph get shipwrecked, and they find this place called Castaway Cove, run by this hippo with wings called Queen Camilla. And at first, she thinks they're the toy taker, and she's gonna have them locked up, but then she finds out Rudolph is in fact Rudolph. And
Saved by celebrity status.
Yes, and Rudolph offers to make the same deal with her that they have with the Island of Misfit Toys. If you give us, your location, we'll tell Santa, and he can come here every year like he does for the Island of Misfit Toys. So she agrees, and she's like, "You've helped me, so now I very much want to help you." So Rudolph tells her Hermie wants a date with the Tooth Fairy. I don't know how she accomplishes that, but she says she can do that. And Hermie informs her that Rudolph wants a new nose. So, she's like, "I can do that too." So Rudolph is all for it, but then it's like, Hermie's like, "Maybe you should talk to Clarice about this first." So Rudolph agrees, and he tells Queen Camilla, "I need to think on this." So they go back. He gives Clarice a flying lesson because she's not very good at it, but she does manage to do it once he tells her how he feels, and that's adorable too, because she's like, "Rudolph loves me!" And she's all happy. It's cute.
It's like the one, which is kind of like the first movie where she's like, "Rudolph, I think you're cute," and he jumps so high.
Yeah, it's a lot like that actually.
It's like, "I'm cute, I'm cute."
Yeah, it's cute, as you can probably tell from the descriptions. So she tells him not to get the nose job because she loves his nose. And then the toy taker strikes later and takes all of Santa's toys, and there's problems with that because they can't do like a year's worth of work in like a couple of nights.
No.
So they come up with this plan to find the toy taker. And we get this scene where a few of the toys from the first movie show up, like the Charlie in a box, and that spotted elephant, and even one of the dolls. And they've been taken by the toy taker. And he's like, "I took you because eventually the children will all abandon you, and I don't want you to go through with that, because they'll outgrow you or you'll break and they'll discard you."
So his intentions weren't so evil as everyone thought.
Yeah, so Rudolph and Hermie with Clarice, Bumble, and Yukon Cornelius go to the Island of Misfit Toys and dress up as toys, so that when the toy taker comes there, because that's probably next, they can sneak on the ship or whatever he's using to find out where he's taking all the toys. So he comes in a ship, and he has this flute thing that hypnotizes toys. So they all go up, but Bumble can't go because he's too big. And that's actually really sad because he looks so upset.
Mm-hmm.
But he follows because he's a persistent bugger. And the toys are in a trance. So once they notice that Rudolph and Co. aren't toys, they sound an alarm. They fight the toy taker, and turns out he's this little teddy bear. Who was thrown away by his boy. So he doesn't want other toys to go through that too, but it turns out that was an accident, and his boy, who is now an adult with his own kid, has been looking for him, so he gets cleaned up and sent there where he's given to his original owner's daughter. And Rudolph is now very happy with his nose because he used it to save people, and his girlfriend likes it, which is important.
Very important.
So he keeps it, and he helps Santa deliver the toys because it's Christmas, and that's pretty much it.
So that is all of Rudolph's stories in the movies.
Well, from that timeline, there's a couple of other movies that feature Rudolph, but it's a different Rudolph, so we're not going to go through with those.
Yes.
So I guess we're going to do the usual brackets now. That was a very long background, but not everyone's seen every movie, so we figured we should give it in more detail than we would normally.
So on to our next part. Does he work as a character?
So I think he does work as a character. I mean, he's the main character, and his personality isn't bad. You know, he's a kid growing up for most of it, and he's got angst based on being ostracized for something he can't help.
And he just wants to fit in.
Yeah, I'm saying this now. A lot of people, especially like this year, for some reason, are taking issue because it's like they're equating it to people with disabilities getting bullied. I don't see it that way at all, and I do find it kind of annoying that other people do, but I'll respect that opinion. But I'm asking this, and I'm pretty sure Fairy here agrees with me. Do not put any of that stuff in our comments. We don't agree with it. We'll respect your decision, but if you start ragging on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movies because you think it's about a disability person getting bullied, that's not how we see it. That's not what we're discussing. Please put that kind of comment somewhere else.
Because you guys have to keep in mind, this was made back in the 60s, and
Rudolph is a holiday icon. We can't abandon him because of that. So, but back to what we were saying. So, I like his personality because he's just a really good kid without being annoyingly saint-like.
Because he's not. He
messes up and he does some stupid shit.
He runs away.
Runs away multiple times. I get the first time, but running away from Yukon Cornelius and Hermie always annoyed me. So,
there's nothing really about him that doesn't work because, like Dragon said, he's the titular character, but that aside, he
can fly. That's always a fun thing for your character to be able to do.
But he starts out as this poor kid who gets bullied because he's different, and
but that's not all there is to him.
I mean, look at Clarice liked him either way.
So, but that's about it. So next up is, does he work in his setting?
And yes,
he's a reindeer
in a place called Christmas Town.
Yeah, and his father works for Santa. He works, well, as a species, and as a person, there's a wide variety of personalities. Like, they have some jerks, and they have some very nice people, and he just fits in with that. So, not much to say.
Yeah, it's actually more relatable than you think, too. Because, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but there were probably times in all our lives that we felt like we're different, we don't fit in, and people, they pick on us for that, but
whether they're actually doing that or we're just seeing it that way. But yeah, so
on to the next part. Do we like him?
I love him. He is one of my favorite Christmas movie protagonists.
Mine as well. Because aside from him being cute, because he's a reindeer,
Oh yeah, the stuffed animals of him are so adorable.
and his red nose is actually cool, just not to the other reindeer.
A lot of them are jerks to start with.
Mhm.
But yeah, so obviously, given we have not said anything truly negative about him, we like him. Like there were some things he didn't like that he did that I didn't like. Like I said earlier, I've never understood why he left Yukon, Cornelius, and Hermie,
Mhm.
because they were awesome and they were very good to him, and he was choosing to go off and be alone.
Because he thought again he was a danger to them.
Yeah, but they came back and he didn't chase them away, so okay. And all around, he was just a nice guy, which I like, with good friends, an appropriate amount of angst, because a character with no conflict is boring, but too much conflict is,
It's like, where do we even go with this?
Yeah, so he was a good balance, I thought. He was a bit more skewered toward nice, but this is for kids, so, you know,
Yeah.
that's fine. So yeah, that's all I got. You got anything to add?
No, you pretty much said it all.
Yay.
So, that's our video on Rudolph. So, what do you guys think? Who's your favorite holiday character? Is it Rudolph too? What are your thoughts on him?
Alright, so
Let
we'll
us
see
know.
you next time in our next holiday video, where we will be talking about a whole different character.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Happy holidays.